Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Swathi and you're watching Swathi's Commerce Tutorials. Well, in today's class, we are going to learn about fresh new concept under your Unit 1 of your NTA UGC NET Commerce, which is your CSR, FERA and FEMA. So without any further ado, let us quickly start today's session. Before that, if you have not watched my previous video, then I have left the links for those videos under the description box below. So please go and watch it now. Okay, so today's topic speaks about corporate social responsibility. Before understanding the CSR responsibility, we have to understand first of all what is CSR. So, CSR, that is corporate social responsibility, are the strategies that companies have put in the action in order to take part in certain well developmental activities which is designed to not only benefit the society but also enhance the company's operations. That is why in totality we call this as corporate social responsibility. Now, if we are talking about corporate social responsibility, we also have to understand where have these corporate social responsibility found its way. That is under section 135 of schedule 7 of Companies Act of 2013, that is which is now Companies, earlier it was Companies Act of 1956, now it is Companies Act of 2013. Under that we can see CSR rules, and that tells us that whether you are a private sector or whether your company belongs to a public sector, it does not matter. Corporate social responsibility has to be adhered by all the listed companies, and if you fall under the category of a private sector or a public sector company, at that time you have to fulfill these CSR committee. Now, you may ask me, who should fulfill these CSR committee responsibility? Whether every company, be it private or public, should fulfill this CSR responsibility? No, it's not the case. There are certain rules where companies need to get targeted upon, and if they fall under these target rules, at that time they have to fulfill these CSR responsibilities. Now, what are these rules? Let us see one by one. First is they have to have a net worth of 500 crores or more. And second is the annual turnover should be 1000 crores or more. Or if at all they generate a profit of 5 crores or more. Now see here the condition resembles or. If you fall under any one of these categories, at that time you have to be a part of this CSR activity. If your annual turnover is more than 1000 per year, if your net worth is more than 500 crores per year, or if you are generating profits which is more than 5 crore every year, at that time you have to be a part of these CSR initiatives. At that time you may ask me, how much percent should you put in for these social causes? Here the answer is that you should give in at least 2% of your average net profits. And how will you calculate these? It is calculated for the three previous consecutive financial years. So three past performance will be taken, and upon that profits will be calculated, and of those profits you have to give in at least 2% for these social benefits. At that time we'll tell that you being a private company or you being a public company have denoted certain percentage of your profits for such social causes. Now, there are separate categories where you can give in your amount of profit for the benefit of the society, and hence we call it as separate categories of CSR. The different categories of CSR are: first is environmental responsibility, second being human rights responsibility, third is a philanthropic responsibility, and fourth is an economic responsibility. Now, what are all these responsibility? Let us understand in detail. Environmental responsibility are those initiatives where companies try to give in their amount of profit towards the benefits of the society in order to tackle the environmental issues like maybe pollution or the greenhouse emission, or in order to make sustainable use of natural resources. Whenever one particular environmental issue is being targeted upon, at that time that type of initiative is known as environmental CSR initiative. Second is your human rights responsibility. Now, as the word says, human rights, here it is for the protection of the human rights. where they are protecting labor laws, where equal pay should be given for the equal work, or fair trade practices must be followed, and disowning of these child labor. All these practices follow upon protecting the rights of the humans, and for this, if any company is giving out the money out of the profits, at that time we'll call them as human rights CSR initiative company. Third is a philanthropic responsibility. Now, philanthropic means that you are funding for the benefit of the society in matters like educational support or health initiative, or we are donating for a particular cause by supporting the community on the whole. At that time, whatever type of activities you are indulging in by giving out the 2%, that is at least 2% of the net profit of your company of the three preceding financial years, you will be called as a philanthropic CSR initiative company. The fourth type of your CSR initiative is your economic responsibility. Economic responsibility involves a firm where you are participating in certain sustainable projects where you are giving importance for new things. That is, where you are minimizing the wastage and you are maximizing the production. At that time, you are talking about an economic responsibility. So here we have read about the four important type of CSR initiative: environmental initiative, HSR, that is human rights initiative, philanthropic initiative, and economic initiative. Now we have learned these four categories on a general sense, but the Companies Act of 2013 gives these CSR types in a specific manner. Now what are those? Let us study one by one. First is, here the Companies Act of 2013 urges the company to donate the amount for eradicating the hunger, poverty, and malnutrition which is prevailing in the country. For that, they have certain programs like your Swachh Bharat Kosh or your blood donation camps where healthcare and sanitation is given more and more importance. So that is the first type of initiative. Second is for promoting education. If you provide education, at that time what happens is their skills will be developed and they will be enhancing their opportunity for gaining better employment. For that, you are making certain type of initiative. Third type of initiative may be for promoting the gender equality, where you are promoting gender equality in terms of setting up affordable hostels for women, or you are encouraging women education, or also it may be in the form of providing old age homes, daycare centers, or orphanages where they cannot support their own lifestyle. At that time, if you donate the money, where they can uplift their living and also be a good leader in the economy, at that time, that is promoting the gender equality. Next type of CSR is related to the environment. This is just like your environmental CSR initiative, where one particular environmental issue is targeted upon, maybe a pollution, or maybe sustainable natural resources, or maybe the maintaining of the quality of the soil, air, and water. Whenever environment is focused upon, at that time it is known as environmental CSR initiative. We also have CSR initiatives where national heritage, art, and culture is also being protected, and for that, people also donate the money. That is, the company is also given the money for that particular cause. Measures have also been taken for benefiting armed forces, that is, the veterans, war widows, and their families. Contribution to the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund or any other fund which is set up by the government, which entirely focuses upon the welfare, that is also there. Next is contribution or the funds which is provided to develop the technology. As you can see, technology is very necessary nowadays because of these AI instruments or the automations. The advancement is in such case that technology needs to be there in the hands of each and every individual, and they have to learn this. So that is why contribution to the funds where development of these technology is also being seen under CSR initiative. Contribution can also be seen where rural developmental projects are also being targeted, and the slum areas are also developed. So these are certain types of initiatives which are being prescribed by the Companies Act of 2013. Now we have discussed what is CSR, how much portion of CSR initiative is being prevail right now, and what are the types of CSR. Now let us understand what is the CSR committee and who resides in that committee. Mandatorily, a CSR committee has to be formed and it is appointed where at least three board of directors should be there. This committee is responsible for what? It is preparing the committee's board reports for policy and planning, and also it will undertake the CSR policy. So these are all the responsibilities that these board of directors will have, and this is the set of the committee which will be prevailing in that CSR committee board. Okay, now moving on, let us move on to the next topic, which is business benefits of CSR. If you are a company having a CSR initiative, if you are indulging in the benefit of the society, it is not that you are only giving out the resources, you will also be receiving something from the other end. That is the benefit of CSR. First is you will have good brand image. CSR initiative companies are gaining more and more recognition these days, and they have good corporate reputation. So if you are one of the companies investing at least 2% of your profit for these social causes, at that time you are a sure business success and people will recognize you for your good causes. Increased customer loyalty and your sales. When CSR activities are conducted by you, customers will feel connected more to the company and they will feel that they are also helping for this good cause in direct or an indirect sense. Third is operational cost savings. When you are supporting certain environmental causes or environmental impact, what happens is the cost automatically gets reduced and your operational cost is saved there. Retaining key and talented employees. When CSR activities are engaged by the company, employees can stay in touch with the company and they can connect with the company in a greater sense, and that is why this has helped them in retaining their employees for a longer period of time. It has made the funding for those companies easier because when the company supports its country, other business starts to support the business in return. Next is it has reduced the regulatory burden, where regulatory bodies will ease certain restrictions on these companies, and that is why these company can develop further in a greater sense. Now that we have studied entirely about the CSR initiative, let us move on to the next topic for today, which is your FERA and FEMA. Now, let me remind you, my dear students, if you are preparing for your NTA UGC NET Commerce, which is coming up in the July or the December, then this is the right channel for you where you can get detailed content on all the topics and all the chapters, and also I'll be conducting the MCQ series on these topics when I've completed a certain set of questions or certain set of topics here. Okay, so if you stay in touch with this channel, you can get in detail with more and more amount of information. Okay, let us move on to the next topic, which is your FERA. FERA and FEMA are related but also different from each other. Now, how is it? Let us see. FERA and FEMA are the two names which has been given by the foreign exchange, and they have given up by the government in India in 1973, that is the FERA was established, and in the year 1999 FEMA was established. Now FERA was replaced by FEMA. Okay, FERA was replaced by FEMA. Now why was it replaced? Let us see. What FERA focused upon? First of all, FERA stands for Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Now, here you can see it is a regulation act which says that the foreign reserves of the country at that time, that is, we are talking about the era of 1973 and before. During that time, what was happening that foreign reserves were very less in the country, and the main purpose of this FERA established in the year 1973 was to maintain certain amount of foreign reserves. For that, this FERA was established. Then later on what happened is FEMA, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act, introduced in the year 1999, that replaced the FEMA because during this era of 1999, that is the 2000s. Okay, now what happened here is there were particular amount of foreign reserves in the hands of the country, but they did not know how to manage the foreign reserves. So for that, this FEMA was introduced. Let me give you a brief explanation of both these FERA and FEMA in detail so that you will not get confused. FERA, that is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, was formulated with the aim of controlling the foreign exchange, preserve of foreign reserves. That is, as I said, during the time of 1970s, they did not, that is India, did not have a lot amount of foreign reserves. So in order to make a lot amount of preserve of these foreign reserves, this Foreign Exchange Regulation Act was introduced, and it had total of 81 sections under it. Now, how many features does this FERA has, and what are all these features? Let me tell you. First is, RBI will authorize the company or the individual for dealing in the foreign exchange. During the time, every company were not given the rights to deal in the foreign exchange. Only those companies which was prescribed by the RBI had the right to participate in this foreign exchange. Then, RBI also had the power to authorize the dealer for transacting in the foreign currency and even take back those authorities. Money changers, that is the people who are engaging in these foreign exchange, these are the individuals who will be entrusted the responsibility of exchanging these foreign currencies, and no individual apart from those who have been stipulated by the RBI were given the rights to participate in this foreign exchange. So that is why strict regulations were maintained by the RBI in order to see to it that foreign exchange reserves were kept in the country and it has not been misled in any such manner. The foreign currencies should be used for the purpose it was acquired for, and that is not possible. It shall be sold to the another dealer within 30 days. And no person, again it is stressed, no person without the permission of RBI can make any transaction here. Also, negotiations were also not possible under this case. And also, if you are a person outside India at that time also, you could not take part in these foreign exchange, and no individual other than one which is prescribed by the RBI is liable to send the foreign currency outside India. That means even though if you are a person that is prescribed by the RBI to take part in this foreign exchange reserve, but if you are with the will of sending these foreign currencies outside India, it was a complete no-no. Next is that a person liable to make a foreign exchange shall not delay the receipt of the foreign exchange. That is, as I said in this point, if you are purchasing or selling these foreign currencies in order to meet certain things, that is, you are acquiring that foreign currency for one particular task. If you are not fulfilling that task, or if you are not fulfilling that responsibility, you are not supposed to retain the foreign exchange. You have to put it back to the another dealer within 30 days. And also, because of all these reasons, FERA faced severe criticisms, and that is why it had to close down, and it was replaced by the next act, that is your Foreign Exchange Management Act, which came in the year 1999. Now, what happened in the year 1999 or that era was that foreign exchange reserves were muchly available or greatly available in India, but they were not managed quite right. So, for that management purpose itself, this Foreign Exchange Management Act was introduced. The main idea behind this act was to facilitate external growth and also to encourage the foreign exchange. In total, this FEMA Act had 49 sections under it. Let me tell you some of the features as well. Here what happened is they were enabled authorized individuals to facilitate forex trading. Now trading was possible and it was also empowered by RBI. This act allowed Indian nationals to trade in forex and own immovable properties also, not only within India but also outside India. See, this is the first change you can see. In FERA, you would not possible to send that foreign currency outside India. Here, what is possible is you can not only take part in the trade activities but also own immovable properties outside the premises of India. This, however, implied to only those properties if you are acquiring it on certain conditions. Now, what are these conditions? If you are on a trip to one particular country, or if you have certain inherent property in another country, in only these two conditions you can own that property. Next case was that FEMA Act took into consideration the foreign transactions by Indian residents for the exchange of foreign currency in India for the purpose of what? If they are traveling. For traveling, they need foreign currencies, and for that purpose itself, they gave the rights for Indians to exchange their foreign currency. Now, there were also certain limits in the hands of FEMA, that is, if you are breaching FEMA also has certain rules and restrictions, and FERA also had certain rules and restrictions. But FEMA came to it that strictly if you are breaching the contract, that is, if you are breaching the laws which are prescribed by the FEMA at that time, penalty will be given. Now, what will be the amount of penalty, you may ask? It will be thrice the value of transaction amount. If you have made a transaction for amount like 1 lakh and you have breached any of the law which I have discussed here under the FEMA, at that time what happens is you have to repay them how much? 3 times of the amount, that is 3 lakh you are supposed to repay, where the amount of transaction is unquantifiable. That means, as I said, the transaction was amounted to 1 lakh. But at that time, what happens is you do not know the amount of transaction. At that time, again, the penalty will be applicable, but it will be on 2 lakh, and for daily occurrence of the breach, it will stands to 5,000 every day. Okay, so 3 times the penalty amount if the amount is known. If the amount is not known, 2 lakh will be the amount, and additionally for every day of the breach, you'll be having to pay 5,000 per day. If any kind of property is also involved, the property will get confiscated. So these were the penalties which has been imposed by the FEMA in case if you breach the laws. Now we have understood both FERA and FEMA. So let us compare these two so that it will be better understanding of these concepts. FERA was to regulate the foreign exchange, whereas FEMA was to manage. The name itself says FERA, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. FERA had 81 sections and FEMA has 49 sections. FERA was formulated at the time when foreign exchange reserves were quite less. But here foreign exchange reserves were satisfactory, but it was not managed well. If at all what happens, FERA is violated, it is a criminal offense. Okay, and if FEMA is violated, it is a civil offense. Now this is one type of a question which has been asked in the NTA UGC NET Commerce examination quite a few times. So please keep a point on all these questions. FERA, if it is imposed, that is penalties is imposed, what type of punishment is there? It is direct imprisonment because it is a criminal offense. But here under FEMA, as I've discussed earlier, penalty fees is there, and if you have not paid the penalty in time, at that time imprisonment can also be seen. Okay, so this is all for today's class, my dear students. Before we sum up this lecture, let me quickly revise what and all we have discussed in this series session. Okay, first of all, we started with the topic of CSR, that is the corporate social responsibility, where you being a private or you being a public entity, you have to participate in the CSR initiative if you fall under these rules. Now, what were these rules? First is if your net worth is more than 500 crores or more. Okay, or if your annual turnover is 1000 crores or more, or if you are making a net profit which is more than 5 crores per year, at that time you should be a part of this CSR initiative. And how much should you pay as a CSR initiative company? You have to pay 2% of your net profits of 3 preceding previous financial years. Okay, then we have seen different categories where you can indulge yourself by giving up the money for the social cause, maybe for environmental issue, for human rights issue, for philanthropic issue, or for economic issues. Okay, these were the general category. We have also seen the categories which is mentioned by the Companies Act of 2013. Then we have seen the CSR committee, where there should be at least 3 board of directors which will take part in the decision and the planning process of the CSR policy. Then we moved on to the main topic, that is the FERA and FEMA, where Foreign Exchange Regulation Act and Foreign Exchange Management Act was discussed. FERA focused on regulating the foreign reserves because at that time foreign exchange reserves were quite a few less, and in order to make a preserve of these foreign reserves, FERA was established in the year 1973. Then came FEMA, which replaced the FERA because at that time foreign exchange reserves were quite satisfactory, but it was not managed well. For that reason, FEMA was introduced in the year 1999. Then, in order to understand things in a more detailed manner, we have compared both FERA and FEMA, and I hope you understood all the topics in detail. And if you like my lectures, or you like my way of teaching, or you want to know more about all the concepts relating to your first unit or all the next two units which I'll be posting in this YouTube channel further ahead, then please do stay connected with me by subscribing to my channel, and also like and share this video with all your friends who are preparing for your NTA UGC NET Commerce examination. Until next time, thank you.